Okay, so this is the second part of our asynchronous day for Mr. Tamez, and this is going to be on page 213. All right. On this one here, it's not word problems. It's just simply practicing the volume. Okay, so you have your reference chart. Remember that it's there in your classwork. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and have that here so we can refer to it. Volume of a cylinder, cone, sphere. Okay, so what they're asking us to do on here is they want us to just figure out the volume for each shape. Okay, and then or each 3D model, shall I say? And then once we figure out the volumes from all of them, they want you to rank them from 1 being the greatest volume to 9 being the least volume. Okay. So first we'll do all the math stuff, get the practice in, and then you'll go back in there and you'll go ahead and put them in order from 1 being the greatest to 9 being the least. Okay. So let's begin. The first one here, we have a cylinder. Now the volume for a cylinder is going to be big B times H, which ends up being pi r squared times the height. So I need to figure out my radius and I need to figure out my height. Okay. I don't like the way it came up, but okay. So now, is my radius 5? No, you should recognize that this is going completely across, so therefore it's my diameter, which means I need to cut that in half. And half of 5 is 2.5. And then my height, of course, is going to be 11.25. And then I'm going to put this in place of this. And so when I do that, I go to my calculator and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I have pi. So I have my pi symbols right here. Pi. Um, sorry, let me redo that. Pi, parentheses, radius, which is 2.5 squared, times my height, which is 11.25. So notice right here is what this formula with my radius and my height from this cylinder. And so when I enter, I get a volume of 220.89. So I'm going to go ahead and just round it to the nearest 100 because that's what they want us to do. So 893, so it's just going to stay 89. So it's going to be V equals 220.89. Okay, so 220.89. So I can write that in here. 220.89. Okay, so there's my volume of the first one. And that's all it is. It's just practice, practice, practice. Okay, we'll go back to the rankings after. Here I have a sphere. So for a sphere, I'm going to use V equals 4 over 3 pi r cubed to the third power. So I need to figure out my radius here. Well, my radius is 6 because it's only halfway from the center to the end. So that's my radius. So it's 6. So then all I got to go do is go into my calculator and input my formula with my radius. So 4 divided by 3, arrow out. And then my radius is, well, actually, no, I'm sorry, I forgot about the pi. 4 over 3 pi. There's my pi. And then I'm going to put my radius, which is 6. And then I'm going to use this one so that I can put it to the third power. And so when I enter, I get a volume of 904.778. I look at that 8. It's going to make me round this up. So it's going to be 904.78. So my volume is 904.78. And so I'm going to write that in here. 904.78 904.78. So 904.78. And now I have a cone. Again, go to my formula chart for a cone, 1 over 3 pi r h. So V equals 1/3 pi r squared times my height. So I need to figure out my radius and I need to figure out my height. Well, my height is 5.75 and my radius is going to be, careful, it's not 12. Remember, I need radius only halfway from the center to the end, not the whole thing. So I need to divide it in half. Well, half of 12 is 6. And so then I go into my calculator, we move it over here, and let me follow my formula. 1 divided by 3, arrow out, pi, and then my radius is 6 squared, arrow out, times my height, which is 5.75. Enter, and I get 216.769. I'm going to round it up to 77. So my volume is 216.77. And so when I go in here, I'm going to write 216.77. Okay. And that's it. I just did an example of each one. I'm just identifying which formula I'm using, identifying my radius and my height, and then just plug it into my calculator. And that's all this is. Okay, let's go to the next three. Let me erase this. Okay, so here we have a sphere. Okay, I should identify as a sphere. And I need to figure out my radius. Okay, because the formula I'm going to use is 4 over 3 pi r cubed to the third power. So I just need to figure out radius. But remember that this is my diameter because it goes from one end to the other. So I need to cut that in half. Well, if I don't know what half of 10.8, I just go to my calculator. 10.8 divided by 2 gives me 5.4. So my radius is 5.4. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and just plug that into my calculator following my formula. 4/3, arrow out, pi times my radius, which is 5.4 to the third power. Don't forget that it's to the third when it comes to a sphere. Gives me 659.583. The 3 is going to let it rest, so 659.58. So my volume is 659.58. And so I'm going to write that here, 659.58. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my next one. I have a cone. So for the cone, remember that the formula is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. So I need to figure out radius and height. Well, it is giving me my radius, which is 4, and it's giving me my height of 8.4. Get my calculator out, and let's go ahead and follow it via this. Well, I guess I come over here. So it's 1/3, arrow out, pi. My radius is going to be 4 squared, arrow out, times my height, which is 8.4. And that is going to equal 140.74. So 140.74, because it's a 3 after that, so it's going to stay uh, at 74. Okay, and then we go to the next one, which we have a cylinder. So it's going to be pi r squared times my height. I need to figure out radius, and I need to figure out height. My radius is right here, it's 2, and my height is right there, it's 7.8. So I go in here, and I'm going to do pi times my radius, which is 4 squared, arrow out, and my height is 7.8. So my volume is 392.070, so it's going to stay 07. So it's going to be 392.07. Okay, so again, it's just practice. Identify, find the radius and the height, plug into the calculator. Okay, but it's good to have this practice because we do need it. Okay, and then moving on to the last three. So here we have a cone. Remember, my volume for cone is 1/3 pi r squared times my height. I need my radius and I need my height. So my radius is going to be half of this. So remember that this is my diameter. I got to cut that in half, which ends up being 4.5. And my height is going to be 6. So I'm going to go ahead and just start plugging this into the calculator. So I have 1/3 because it's a cone, arrow out, pi, parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting that in. So 1/3 pi, and then my radius was 4.5. Remember, it's squared, arrow out, times my height, which was 6. So my volume is 127.234. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. So it's going to stay at 0.23. So 127.23. Then we move on to our cylinder. We know we're going to have to find our radius and our height. Okay. Our formula for the cylinder is pi r squared times the height, right? And no, remember that this is not going to be my radius. This is my diameter. Well, if I'm not sure, I'm going to go here, 3.5 divided by 2, and I get 1.75. So my radius is 1.75, and my height is 10. So I go here, my calculator, and I plug into my formula, pi r, which is 1.75 squared, arrow out, and my height is 10. And I get 96.21. So 96.21. Then we get to our last one. It's a sphere. Remember that for sphere, it's 4/3 pi r cubed. That's the one big difference that we tend to forget. We're only going to figure out the radius, which they're already giving it to us at 7. So then I go to my calculator, 4/3, arrow out, pi, parentheses, my radius is 7. Use this one so that it allows you to put whatever number you need, which is cubed or 3 in this case, and then we figure it out. And so my my volume is going to be 1,436.75.5. If it's 5, you're going to go round it up. So 1,436.76. So 1,436.76. 6. Yes. Now that you have your volumes for all of these, okay, you should have them all now. Now you're gonna go in there and rank them 1 through 9. The 1 is the highest volume. The biggest number is gonna be number 1. The lowest number or smallest number is gonna be number 9, and then you just go in order from there, from 1, 2, 3, all the way down to the smallest one, which is gonna be 9. So you're gonna rank those on your end. Okay. Good job. Keep up the good work. Let's finish off this year strong.